In this video, I explain why food sticks to stainless steel pans and, more importantly, how to prevent it from happening. Let's get started.
Prudent Reviews.
Hi, I'm Andrew with Prudent Reviews, where we help you find the best products for your home. If you're new to this channel, subscribe for in-depth and unbiased reviews of cookware, kitchen knives, appliances, and more. If you're avoiding your stainless steel pans because no matter what you try, food sticks to the surface, you're not alone. I've tested and reviewed dozens of cookware brands, and food sticking is a problem across the board. In this video, I explain the science behind why food sticks to stainless steel pans and share some simple techniques you can use to prevent it from happening. At the end, I'll prove these methods work by showing you how I cook eggs in a stainless steel pan without sticking. Let's get into it. So why does food stick to stainless steel pans? Well, there are four main causes. Number one is too much heat. Stainless steel pans appear shiny and smooth, but if you look at the cooking surface under a microscope, you'll see tiny pores and crevices. These pores contract when you heat the pan and expand when the pan cools or comes in contact with cold food. When you place cold food on a piping hot stainless steel pan with no oil, the drastic temperature difference causes the pores to quickly expand and contract, grabbing onto the food. Also, food can easily burn when you cook on high heat. The burnt bits and particles will stick to the pan. On the flip side, cooking at low temperatures can also cause food to stick. When you add oil to a hot pan before adding the food, a reaction between the oil and the food's moisture creates a steam vapor. The steam lifts the food above the oil, so it's not in direct contact with the stainless steel cooking surface. When you place food on the pan, you want to hear a sizzling noise. That means the reaction between the oil and the moisture in the food is happening. If the pan isn't hot enough and you don't hear that sizzle, the steam effect won't occur and the food will stick to the pan. This steam effect also prevents food from becoming too greasy. If you put oil and food on a cold pan before turning on the heat, the food will absorb the oil. But when the oil is already hot, this steam effect creates a barrier, keeping the food and the oil separate. Protein-rich foods like eggs, chicken, and steak are prone to sticking because the proteins create complex bonds with the metal atoms in the pan. Eggs are especially problematic because their liquid flows into the pan's pores and they fall apart at the slightest force of friction. Don't get me wrong, stainless steel cookware is excellent for cooking proteins. In fact, it's one of the best cookware types for searing meat. My point is, when you cook proteins with stainless steel, you have to be extra careful and always use the proper cooking methods, which I'll explain in a second. Rough scrubbing pads and harsh chemicals can scratch or damage the stainless steel pan's surface, leaving rough bumps and even more areas that food can cling onto. On the other hand, not cleaning the cookware thoroughly enough will leave behind small food particles and oils that can burn the next time you cook. Burnt bits add even more friction to the pan's surface, causing food to stick and imparting bad flavors on your next meal. Now that you know what causes food to stick to stainless steel pans, what exactly do you do to prevent it from happening? Preheating the pan is key. Before you add oil and start cooking, the pan needs to be the right temperature. To check if your pan is hot enough, run this quick test. After preheating but before oiling, put a small drop of water in the pan. When the pan is at the right temperature, the water will bead into a ball and roll around the pan. This reaction is referred to as the Leidenfrost effect. If the pan is too cold, the water will bubble and evaporate quickly. If you add the oil and the food at this point, it will stick. Wait a bit and try again. If the pan is too hot, the water will break apart into small droplets and ping around the pan. If this happens, turn the heat down and try again in a minute or so. Greasing stainless steel pans with oil or an alternative fat is necessary to prevent sticking. The oil fills the pores and crevices, creating a frictionless surface and a barrier between the pan and the food. One of the most common mistakes people make is that they add oil to a cold pan. When you do this, the oil seeps into the open pores in the cooking surface, breaks down, and forms sticky polymers. Not a good combination if you're trying to prevent sticking. Plus, the oil is more likely to burn since it's exposed to heat for longer. After you preheat the pan, wait a few moments for the temperature to stabilize. Then add the fat and coat the pan thoroughly. A good rule of thumb is to use enough oil to cover the entire pan in a thin layer. For example, cooking chicken breasts in a 12-inch skillet would translate to about 2 or 3 tablespoons of oil. Always bring the food to room temperature before cooking, or at least close to it. Cold meat is especially prone to sticking to stainless steel because it lowers the temperature of the oil and minimizes the steam effect. Another benefit of bringing your food to room temperature before cooking is that it's easier to cook more evenly, since the entire piece of food will have a uniform starting temperature instead of being coldest in the middle. Make sure your ingredients are dry. Moisture from the food can lower the temperature of the oil. When that happens, the reaction between the oil and the food that creates the steam barrier is less effective, increasing the chances of food sticking. Drying also promotes a crispier sear, essential for cooking delicious steaks, burgers, and fish. Overcrowding a pan causes the temperature to drop and releases moisture from the food. Similar to my last point, when this happens, the steam barrier won't hold and food won't lift from the pan's surface. By not crowding the pan, you allow the Maillard reaction to occur, which is a chemical reaction between amino acids and reducing sugar. In simpler terms, it occurs when the surface of the food comes in contact with hot oils or fats and creates a crusty brown texture. When the pan is overcrowded, this can't happen. Overcrowding lowers the temperature of the pan and creates too much moisture. So instead of a nice crispy brown crust that releases the food from the pan's surface, the meat sticks and boils in its own juices, not appealing for flavor or texture. To prevent food from sticking to stainless steel, don't move it around too frequently. Meat needs to brown and form a crust for optimal flavor and texture. The crust also helps the meat release from the pan's surface. If you flip a steak or pork chop too early, it'll stick to the stainless steel. Grab a pair of tongs and gently lift the food. If it doesn't pop right off, give it a little more time. Lastly, it's important to clean stainless steel properly. Although most brands advertise that their stainless steel cookware is dishwasher safe, hand washing is always preferred. If you want to ensure maximum cooking performance and extend your cookware's lifespan, wash it with warm water, dish soap, and a soft sponge. Dry it thoroughly with a soft dish towel and stack it carefully, protecting the cookware's surface from sharp objects and utensils. All right, let's see these techniques in action. Eggs are probably the toughest thing to cook on stainless steel pans, but I'm gonna show you how. All right, so this pan has been heating up for a couple minutes. Now I'm gonna drop a tiny drop of water. You can kind of see that water is bouncing around the pan, exactly how I mentioned before. So that means the pan is ready. Okay, now I'm gonna put a little bit of butter in the pan. I'm gonna let that melt. Not too much, just a little bit. I'm gonna coat the pan evenly. And now I'm going to add the egg. I'm gonna crack the egg right in there. Like I mentioned before, we're not gonna touch that for a few seconds. We're gonna let that cook, let that fry. All right, now let's see how we're doing. Yeah. As you can see, absolutely no sticking, sliding around the pan. Let me show you this. The most important things to remember to prevent sticking with stainless steel are control the heat. The pan needs to be hot, but not too hot. Use the right amount of oil at the right time. Have patience. Don't rush adding the oil if the temperature isn't right. And don't move the food too soon. Let the food come to room temperature before cooking. Don't overcrowd the pan. And clean the cookware thoroughly, but try not to scratch the surface in the process. If this video was helpful, check out this video where I explain step-by-step the easiest and fastest way to clean stainless steel pans. And don't forget to click this logo to subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.